You ready?
Yeah, let's do this. Hey everybody, it is Brie Milani with Sky Insurance here on the Greatness Podcast, and today I am so excited to have a client of mine who I've worked with for, I would say, a couple years now. It's gone by really quick. He is absolutely wonderful, great loan officer, has been in the business for a long time, and it is the one and only Rich Manning.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. We're super happy to have you here. I kind of let everybody in the office know. I was like, he used to play basketball. Like, you've got a great story, and kind of what you do in your business now has started from that. So I'm excited to kind of get, how you got into the industry and all of that, and kind of hear about that. But let's start off about, I know you're married to your lovely wife.
Yes. 29 years next month. This month.
Oh yeah, it's July now.
It's July now.
That's so exciting. She's super sweet. I remember meeting her here. She's a lovely woman. And you guys have three
boys.
3 boys.
Yeah, 26 now, 23, and 18 going on 19.
Wow. And they all have quite the resume.
They do. They do. We've been very blessed. I say it all the time. My oldest son went to the Air Force Academy and played basketball, so he got his Division I basketball scholarship.
Amazing.
And ended up obviously going through officer training, and so now he's a first lieutenant in the Air Force stationed in LA.
Wow.
And he does budgets and analytics and works on some multi-million-dollar stuff for them. So it's pretty exciting.
Must feel very proud.
Very much so, especially when I'm in the finance industry.
I was going to say, he's taken after dad.
That's right.
That's awesome.
That's right. And my middle son, Matt, he's been fortunate enough to be drafted in the MLB by the Detroit Tigers in 2016 and just recently made his major league debut. So on Sunday will be his fourth start already.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Watching that has been pretty cool. I watch all your posts, and my husband loves baseball, so he kind of watches it and gives me updates.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
And then my youngest son, Jake, found his own calling, and he started playing volleyball his junior year in high school, and he parlayed that into a scholarship at Georgetown College in Kentucky. So he is now a volleyball prodigy.
That's amazing. And did you ever think you'd have a child or a son who played volleyball? Like, I know you were a basketball player, and it's like volleyball is so awesome. Like, that's amazing.
It is. And sports has always been a big thing in my family and also in my wife's family.
Yeah.
So we use sports as a way to keep yourself active.
Right.
And whatever comes of it, I've always wanted all of my boys to get a college scholarship. Mm-hmm. Take it off of my shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And anything beyond that was gravy. And I'm 3 for 3 now. So all of them have done something on their own. And I can't be more proud that they've gone their own paths. Baseball,
That's the
basketball,
most amazing thing.
Volleyball, yeah. So I think the groundwork we set when they were younger, playing almost every sport, has worked out.
I was going to say, what's the secret?
Yeah.
We've got our daughter. She's in soccer right now. We're going to do softball, and then we do swimming. I think it's so important to keep your kids just, healthy and active and just trying all these different things, and then they'll figure out what they like. Exactly. That's kind of the approach we're taking with it.
And that's exactly right. It's the camaraderie of a team.
Right.
Learning how to function within a team and a family, and those are the virtues that take you further in life.
Yeah.
And of course, it keeps you out of trouble, right? If you always got practice or you always got a game, there's something where you can't just go, get into some trouble and stuff. So it benefits everywhere. And then, of course, if you want to be successful and go on to college, you have to keep your grades up in high school.
Right.
To be able to get that college scholarship. So it always plays into more than what it is, but the values are there.
Oh, yeah. And I think it shows, as they progress in their life, they've committed to going to college. They were playing collegiately. I mean, that is something you want to put on your resume. That's amazing. You'll get any job they want. So you guys have done a fantastic job. I need to take some notes. Now, you have a past of your own as well. So I know your slogan or your tagline is 7-foot loan officer.
That's right.
So you must have played some sort of sport.
Some sort of sport, yes. I was fortunate enough to play basketball. I did. I claim Sacramento as my home.
Yeah.
I went to Center High School here in Antelope now and was very successful. Got a scholarship to go to Syracuse University. Played there for 2 years. Transferred and finished at University of Washington. became a Pac-10 at that time, All-Star, and was drafted 40th by the Atlanta Hawks.
Wow.
So then it started a whole nother side of my career too, is that not only being drafted, but being first cut from a team, the first time ever in the pros, working my way back up through the CBA, which is now the G League, and then actually making my debuts and playing. I played a year and a half in the NBA between Vancouver Grizzlies and Los Angeles Clippers. And then amongst injuries, as I was getting better, I went overseas and finished my career, played 3 years overseas.
Oh,
so
wow.
8 years total professional. I wanted to do 10, but 8 years was good. And then along came Jake. So.
I was going to say, because you were married, or you weren't married, but you were with your wife through that whole process, correct?
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, so Ryan we have pictures of him when I was at Vancouver and the Clippers. We've had pictures of Matt, was a baby then. And then, of course, Jake was our last son to be born, and it kind of slowly put me into retirement. Not a bad thing, but it was just the way it was.
Yeah, I mean, 3 kids and your wife by herself, if you're traveling a lot, I couldn't imagine.
She was a trooper. She brought 2 young babies overseas for us so I could spend time with them all and
awesome.
Expose them to a lot of things, a lot of new things, experiences and such they probably don't even remember right now.
Right, but you have pictures and you show them.
We talk about it quite often.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, and that she followed you to be able to, pursue your career. She sounds like such an amazing woman, even though like the couple minutes I've talked to her, she was so sweet.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you have had this amazing career in basketball, 8 years, and then you have your kids. And now, did you just progress right into doing mortgages, or how did you get into the industry?
I kind of fell into it.
Okay.
I wasn't a millionaire. I wasn't the biggest on any one of my teams that I've ever played on, but I made a good living. So I knew I would have to work after I played. So about a year before I stopped playing, I started sending out resumes and doing interviews and just kind of getting involved. And it was the summer before 2001, I kind of caught on with somebody that was a mortgage broker, and they taught me the business, and kind of as a paid internship type of thing, and figured, let's see if this works and this fits. And then of course, September 11th happened and the basketball contracts dried up after that. So I worked that full year with him and figured out I was making just about as much money doing this as I did before. So it made that decision, that transition decision, a lot easier because I'd established myself.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, you're playing basketball every day. It's hard on your body after a while. I mean, you're 7 feet tall. That must be, I'm 5'7" and I'm like bend over and I'm like, oh, my back. And I never played. So I'm sure it was nice to be able to say, okay, I had that time, got to do what I wanted to do. Now I get to kind of go into the professional world and do mortgages. So how long were you at that particular company, or did you, because I know you've been at Summit for quite some time now.
Quite some time, yeah. I started out with the broker and then moved with him to when he created his own business. So I was with him about 5 years.
Okay.
Then went on to another retail operation, was with them for about 4 years, and then caught on with Summit. And I'm in my 15th year here at Summit. So it has been a good time. I love Summit. I love the culture. I love the owner. The owner's always working on how to improve the business, and any pitfalls he sees, he's working on fixing it and making it smoother, not only for us as originators, but for the client, which is the most important.
Well, and I think what we were talking about before we started this was people think, they make a lot of moves in this industry because the grass is greener, or they think the grass is greener. But when you work for an owner like the owner of Summit, who we all know no company is perfect. We all know there's going to be problems no matter what, especially in this industry where it's constantly changing. Every day I feel like I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's not happening anymore. Now it's something else.
Right.
So working for somebody who knows that it's not ever going to be perfect, but if I can do whatever I can to make sure, fix things when there's a problem, make it better for the loan officer, for the client, doesn't get much better than that.
Right.
And I've heard that over and over about Summit.
He's very proactive. He's looking ahead, looking at what can be better, and looking at what's happened and how to improve that process.
Yeah.
And he's taught a lot of us. I mean, we do professional coaching. He was part of a professional company.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Now that he's broken off that, we're running our own coaching business through our own peers.
Oh, okay.
And so we're always accountable to somebody else. And we get new ideas. If we're struggling or having an issue, we can answer that issue. We get ideas on how to continue to build the business or take a different path and how to keep business rolling in. So it's checks and balances, it's accountability, And it's just the culture of what he's created here.
Yeah.
Everybody helps everybody.
And you guys have a lot of, and maybe I'm misspeaking, but from an outsider looking in, you guys have some pretty great producers that work here. So working with people like that kind of makes you want to go to that next level and have, you see what they're doing. You can kind of mastermind with them. Okay, how are they doing that? So then I can get to that next level, Right. So that's awesome to have that. And within this whole company, I feel like you guys have some pretty amazing loan officers.
And it can create some competition, some
healthy competition.
Exactly.
Where you're not like trying to, you're not mad at each other. You're just trying to, okay, you did that many, I'm going to do that.
Right. I can do that. I see how you did it. Okay, I'm going to do it my way, but I can do it that much too.
Right.
Right. There's no cap at what you can achieve.
Yeah.
The only cap is the cap you put on yourself.
Right. And what's 100%. And I think with this last year happening, I think a lot of people went higher than the cap they ever thought they had because of the market and just how crazy it's been, and refinances and all that. So I know before we got on the show, we talked a little bit about how you, in my opinion, you take a little bit different of approach with your clients. So again, as an outsider looking in, we work with a lot of different loan officers and a lot of amazing loan officers. And I always appreciate the loan officers who are trying to educate their clients. You take a very educational approach, I notice, and even just requesting insurance. We had one just the other day. You're like, hey, this doesn't look like quite right. Can we look into it just to see where we're at? And, having that conversation with your client to say, hey, you might be paying too much on your insurance.
Right.
Let's look into it. And we've had a few where that was the case during your refinances.
Or underinsured and not knowing it.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, I believe my number one job is to provide the information necessary for the borrower to make an informed decision. Now, borrowers are going to ask my opinion, and I can freely give it when I know they understand what it's all about.
Right.
This is the biggest decision. This is the biggest purchase you ever make in your life. Some people make it multiple times. Right. Some people make it once or twice.
Yeah.
But the median home loan right now is almost near $500,000. So you're paying $500,000 back over the course of 30 years. You better understand it.
Yeah.
So I do. I really take that approach, and I think it's paid off in my book of business because I get repeat customers.
Yes.
But from the start, I'm talking to them about what it takes to qualify, cash, credit, and income, what each loan program means and how that benefits them versus another option. And then on the whole side of it too is to say, okay, this is good for you for this reason. This is not for that reason. And then looking at, okay, this is your monthly payment and probably what you're going to have to pay for this house. Does that fit your monthly budget? So you aren't house poor.
Right.
And that's a big thing right now too. I feel for a lot of people who haven't bought a house yet because it's hard for people even with two incomes right now to afford a house in this current market.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see people, and obviously you see on the news record house price and all these things, and even just in my little neighborhood, we see these houses go. We saw a 2,300 square foot home go up for $799, and I'm like, there's no way. 2 cash offers over $800. We were what? How? Who has $800,000 just sitting there waiting to buy a house? So I understand where you're coming from, feeling for the people who haven't been able to buy yet, because it's just such a volatile market, and it's up and down constantly. But I feel like the last year, it's just continued to go up and up and up. And so with that being said, everyone says, oh, the bubble's going to burst or whatever. In your opinion, obviously you're laughing. So not a lot of people feel that are in the industry. I notice people who say that are the ones that, maybe are my peers that I went to high school with. We're going to wait to buy a house. They post on Facebook, we're going to wait to buy a house. We're just waiting for the bubble to burst. And then my opinion, I'm like, I think you need to educate yourself. But what's your take on that?
In being in this business 20 years now, I've seen the cycles, and there are cycles where value goes down, but it's not very often. I saw a stat recently, I think it was from Sacramento Appraisal blog, where it said from March of 20 to year over year, April of 2021, we've gone up 20% in value in Sacramento. Wow. Sacramento, El Dorado, Placer. 20%. Wow. Well, and then of course the supply is fueling that increase, but if you earn 7% on your investment, your property, your home, you're doing really good. Right. Now we're talking about 20% over a quarter. And we have exceeded values that we saw when the bubble popped back in 2007, 2008, 2009.
Right.
But it's a different market. It's a different world that we're enjoying right now.
Right.
In that if you've owned a home, you're profiting. And again, this is your investment. Okay. But if you're not a home buyer or you're a millennial and you're trying to get in, it's a much harder time to do it. So I think in Sacramento County alone, or in this Northern California region, we have to normalize at some point, but I don't think there's a bubble per se where we're going to see a 20% drop in your value. It just can't happen right now. But the normalization is the next step. And that probably pushed that out to 2022, 2023 as the economy gets back on its feet from the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, which might not be a horrible thing. You know, I think normalizing and kind of stabilizing wouldn't be the worst thing. No. I mean, especially because right now we're seeing, 30 people compete for the same house. So maybe cutting that into half even would be nice, because I think people get discouraged very easily. You hear it constantly. People are like, yeah, I put 5 offers and I just gave up because I don't know what else to do at this rate.
Right.
So it's I shouldn't say it's scary, but it's definitely eye-opening. For me, a millennial, luckily my husband and I bought a house a few years ago, but I look at my friends and I'm like, man, they better, start buying now because I don't know how they're going to if we continue to rise. And I think they do say like Placer County, Sac County, El Dorado, we're kind of like an anomaly in this area. We're kind of protected in a sense because a lot of Bay Area buyers, a lot of people, from all over want to move here because now they can remote work. And so they're like, well, I can just take my money and have this beautiful house. Yeah, we're in the suburbs, but I'm only an hour and a half away from my job. So if I need to go in once a week, once a month, I can do it.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But
it will.
It's reassuring hearing people, loan officers, real estate agents that we talk to on the podcast say the same thing. Like, it might even out, it might stabilize, but it won't burst.
Right. Exactly.
So that's refreshing.
And I think in our area too, we need more smaller starter homes, the 1,200 to 1,500 square foot homes. There's just not enough of those starter homes anymore because the builder has to build bigger homes to make more profit, to make up for the loss or the costs in labor and or products to build a house given the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the new home builders are behind simply because of that, and you never hear that they're behind.
No, it's usually the pre-crash, it was they had too many houses. Really, now it's like they can't even get the materials to buy or to build the house. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. My husband's in he does accounting, but he does it for his family's business that does stucco and drywall. And that's what they're dealing with right now. And they don't have enough labor. They don't have enough people on the ground building the homes. So it'll be very interesting to see what the next few years bring. All I tell my husband is let's just buckle up, save for a rainy day, and just hope that rainy day never comes.
Right.
That's all you can do.
That's right. That's exactly the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that you've been in the industry for how many years now?
I started in 2001, so I had 20 years.
Wow.
Almost exactly.
So you're a veteran for sure in the industry. Now, what would you tell yourself, or maybe some of you getting into the industry, if you knew 20 years ago that would have helped you, like a piece of information or just even like just anything you could think of that you're like, wow, that would have been super helpful?
Yes. Right off the top of my head is find a mentor. Find somebody who's doing it and copy what they're doing. I mean, what we do, there's no copyright infringements, right? Copy what they're doing. The second thing is build your book of business and continue to service it. Check in with people, call people. You cannot have call reluctance in this industry. It's just not possible.
That is what the coaching program that you guys had, I know, taught that. Just pick up the phone and call somebody.
Exactly. Or see it face to face.
Yes.
And now we're dealing with it right here. Social media. Social media is the next way to reach the next wave of people.
Yeah.
Right. And the third thing is just be service oriented, in my opinion. I go through many sales transactions myself. I treat clients how I want to be treated in a transaction. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Treat them the right way and take care of them first, and you'll be successful.
Yeah. And like you said, you have a lot of repeat business, which is a testament to your business and what you do, because if people come back, clearly you did something right. So that's not a bad thing. And that's good advice, because I think right now what I've talked with people is that we're in a wave where there's a lot of people that are going to retire out of this industry in the next 10 years. And so where does that leave us? I see a lot of people my age who are going into real estate. They just want to be the real estate agent. Not many are going into mortgage.
Right.
I see a lot going into real estate, but mortgage, I think it's just people think, oh, it's too hard, or I don't know what they think. But it'll be interesting because as that generation fades out, what's going to happen? Right. So it's getting those people into it. I think it's an intimidating in a sense, it's intimidating for people because it's finances. Like you said, you're dealing with the largest purchase of somebody's life.
Right.
So
there's a lot of pressure there. And you're dealing with a lot of math, and you're dealing with finer points. And not everybody is little picture like that. And that's where my job really takes off, is finding those little holes, because I need to know if the underwriter's going to see something that I missed that could be a decision between approving or denying a loan application.
Yeah, and those things, I mean, if you don't pay attention and go through it with a fine-tooth comb, you can miss those kinds of things. So,
and think about it, the money, if my mistake could cost somebody.
Yeah.
Not only the agent's commission, but you're talking about appraisal fees and home inspection fees. I mean, that could literally, and good faith deposits.
Yeah.
I mean, that could literally add up to $4,000 to $5,000 on a mistake.
And just gone. Yep. Nothing you can do.
Correct.
So it's important to be very, look through everything. And I think that's might be what intimidates people. But real estate is kind of the same way. You have to look at it the same way and be very detail oriented. But I've seen a lot of people my age get into real estate. Right. So it's interesting, which I know you personally, you're very good about connecting with local real estate agents. I know that's kind of probably where you get a majority or a good handful of your business that you work with. What's some advice on that? I know the real estate agents in general, there's so many lenders out there. So what sets you apart from the next person?
Well, and that's a great question, because I really believe my service level sets me apart. It's what I try. Not only do I explain everything to the client, but I'm also explaining things to the real estate agent. Communication is huge, not just when you do the pre-qualification and the client's looking for the home, but when the client finds the home and you have 30 days to close that escrow. And if there's any hiccups, it's just being open, honest, and free communication with all parties involved that makes the transaction go smooth. Yeah. Right? That's what the whole point is closing on time, closing smooth with a happy client. Yeah. And that makes everybody look good, and that brings back the business. Yeah. So you got to be on top of your game at all times. And it is a stressful business, because not all loans are the same. There's a lot of snowflakes out there. And navigating those snowflakes is very important. So that only comes with experience.
Right. Well, I think I've heard people say, like, you learn every loan you do, you're learning something on, regardless if you've been in it for 20 years or you've been in it for a year. Every single loan has something different that you've never seen before.
Correct.
So you're like, okay, didn't think I could, have anything different on this loan, but here we are. Yep. Or even I've heard, like, sometimes the most perfect loans that you think are perfect, there's always a curveball in there.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that it's cool to see, this office we're in the Summit Funding Elk Grove office. We come in here quite a bit. Rich and I actually, I don't know if we met through, but we're part of a networking group that I think we might have met through, or at least officially met through. I know we would see each other in passing, and I'm in this office a lot. It's definitely a high traffic. There's people in and out of here at all times. So it's kind of cool to see, you guys have some great loan officers in here. And I feel like everybody takes that approach of really trying to make sure you're being on your game, doing what you can do, and navigating those snowflake type of situations and get your client where they need to be.
Right. And we also take advantage of the best people. So you always say you're in here. Well, one of us works with you. Two of us work with you. Pretty soon, everybody's going to work with you.
Hopefully.
Same thing with title companies. Same thing. I mean, it just happens that way, because we all share the information. We share experiences,
which is so important too. I mean, it goes with loan officers too. You want your real estate agents that you work with to share that with with the real estate agents within their office as well. So it's greatly appreciated. Yes. So I know, this industry can be a difficult industry to navigate. There's so much competition in it. So when somebody asks you, like, what sets you apart, it's hard to be like, well, take a step back and say, like, what does set me apart? What makes me different from everybody else? And, a lot of people say communication, but really, do they do it? Do they really stand by that? And that's really what they do. And I know for a fact you do with your clients, just from what, us working with them. Because I think it's easy for people to say that, but do they really do it?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Is it lip service?
Yeah.
Of course, I always stand out in a crowd anyway.
I mean, you are kind of lucky in that sense. You are 7 feet tall. You could find you in any room, basically.
That's right.
I would assume you're probably always the tallest.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Unless if you're in a room full of, like, people you used to play basketball with, maybe not.
That's
but I don't know. There's not a lot of people in basketball even that are 7 feet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody retires out or plays out or, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's always Nick, my husband, played with a guy who was 7 feet, and I think he played collegiately, but then stopped. But you could always spot him in a room.
Exactly.
I think he married a girl who was pretty tall too. I'm like, one day when they have kids, they're going to have super tall
Exactly.
kids.
That's great. We need more tall people.
Heck yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah, well, I also kind of wanted to talk a little bit about like what you specialize in. I know in mortgage, there's all sorts of types of loans. Obviously, like there's a bunch. I don't know if you have like a particular niche that you like to work with. I've noticed in some of your referrals, it seems like you work with some first-time home buyers. I think we've worked with a few vets that that you have sent to us.
Veterans are a special part of my business because my dad's a veteran. My son is actually an Air Force officer now. I think that's one of the best loan programs available. So if you can take advantage of it, do. I do the normal conventional FHA, purchase or refinance. I throw in a few reverse mortgages every now and then.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow.
And so, I mean, my portfolio is a little diverse simply because I want to be able to work with the clients who can come to me. The majority of my business, the higher percentage can be in that right on the borderline of the FHA conventional qualifying. First-time home buyers, second-time home buyers, where it's not an easy slam dunk loan, right? The people with 800 FICO scores and $50,000 in the bank, they can go to Quicken and do an online broker, and it can go just fine. Not that it's a great option, but it can go just fine. But there's a whole segment of people out there that can't just throw their information online, or they have something different, or they have overtime, self-employed, commission, something that's not fitting in the box, right? That's the key. And so that's kind of where I've made my business, is figuring out, okay, how to set these people up the right way and put them on a plan that they're going to be homeowners for a long time. Yeah.
And I think that's a good point with Quicken. Like, not talking bad about them, just saying they have a box that certain people fit into and it works great. It's kind of how we are in insurance. It's like you can go to State Farm and Farmers and they're great companies, great products, but you really have to be that cookie cutter, clean, and no claims whatsoever, no aggressive breed dog. They have all these things and you just have to fit into that box perfectly. And if you do, it works great. But most people don't fit into that. Let's be honest. I mean, they're far and few between, but that's wonderful because you have like a nice little sprinkle of clients, all different types of clients from all, varying from different ages. And so it's been really fun getting to work with those clients.
Different backgrounds. I mean, I've pulled teachers at the schools I work or coach basketball with.
Yeah.
I've pulled parents of kids where my kids have played with theirs on sports teams. My basketball background's brought a lot of people attention to it. So, I mean, it's fun because I get to meet a lot of different types of people too.
Well, I think that's the important thing, is having fun with it, because this industry is not always fun. Let's be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you could, have a crystal ball and just say, like, in the next couple months, what are you kind of thinking rates are going to do? And just in that sense of, like, I know people are saying, oh, they've been creeping up, but what's your take on that?
First and foremost, let's say they're still at historic lows.
Right.
Right? I mean, my parents they paid 17% when they bought their house.
Insane.
When I bought my house, it was 6.75% when I bought my first house. I mean, rates are historic low. So always keep that in mind, okay? Right now, we're still in a volatile time period.
Right.
The jobs report just came out this morning. Last month when the jobs report came out, rates went up. Okay, rates went up a quarter. I mean, is that a lot? No, it's $20, $25 a month in your payment.
Right.
It's not a lot, but it's not something to freak out over. But over the course of the next 3 weeks, we're probably going to creep back down again. Yeah. So as the temporary inflation that we're having starts to dissipate, rates should go back down. I'm thinking, and the experts are talking about, your best rates are going to fall sometime between August and November of this year.
Put it on your calendar.
Exactly. That's going to be kind of the sweet spot. And then as the Fed stops tapering the purchase of mortgage bonds, rates will start to creep up. Now, are we talking about 6%? Probably not.
Hopefully not.
We're probably talking about 4%, 4.5% instead of 2.75 to 3.5.
So still amazing.
Still amazing, and all-time lows still.
Right.
It's just what's going to happen based on the economy. So
yeah.
I don't think it's going to be scary. I don't think it's going to be bad. I think we'll just normalized, like we talked about before.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing. Well, we'll wrap up here. We'll take a quick break and then we'll hop back on and get kind of a little ending and have you give all your information for people to get a hold of you. So we'll be right back. All right, we are back here again with Rich Manning with Summit Funding, and we were just talking a little bit about rates and how, yes, they might creep up a little bit in the next year or so and maybe the next 6 months, but we don't anticipate them to be at 10, 20, crazy percent. We think they're going to stay relatively low. I think a lot of people have gotten used to that 2 and 3, seeing that 2 and 3 number. So I think it'll be a little shock for some people, but at the end of the day, we've expected it. Right. It's what's to be expected in the last, 6 months to a year. Well, I've really appreciated you coming on the show. I love your story. I was telling her, like I said, I was telling our office, like he was a basketball player and then his kids, and like it's just so awesome and it's great. You're such a wholesome, really awesome person. So we appreciate you coming on. Yeah. How can people get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Again, my name is Rich Manning. I'm with Summit Funding. I go by the 7-foot loan officer.
You can't miss him on Google.
Right. So if you want to look me up, you can go to 7footloanofficer.com. Has all of my information there. I can be reached. My office number is 916-683-7358, or my email is rmanning, MANNING, at summitfunding.net, NET. Best way to reach me.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you again for coming on, and thanks again for everybody who's listening.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yes.